Dr. Sundari Mace, our public health officer, and I don't know if Dr. Baldwin is with us today, but we also thank Supervisor Rabbit for joining us today. So before we, I think what we'll do is start first with our incident leaders, and I think we'll start with Division Chief Ben Nichols from CAL FIRE. Chief, you're on mute, Chief. We can't hear you for some reason. Okay. Not sure what's going on.
Yeah, Paul, I can go ahead and start in for
okay, we'll go to, Commander Kavanaugh. You want to give us an overview?
Yeah, I will, exactly. Well, thank you for having us again this afternoon. I appreciate the offer and be able to speak to everybody here and give you a brief overview of what's taken place today in the last, since we talked last night. And what I'd like to do, and then when Ben comes out, he's over there, but we'll talk obviously about the wall bridge incident, which we are now calling the west zone, and that is branch 10. We did an organization change yesterday because we had multiple fires over in the east zone all converge and combine into one big fire, which is the Hennessy fire. So we're dealing with the west zone and the east zone now in multiple branches. As of this morning, the entire complex is sitting around 219,000 acres as of this morning. We didn't have much fire growth last night on any of the incident. All the fires due to some marine layer that came in overnight and allowed the fire to sit down. We had some good humidity recoveries, which was key for especially the wall bridge fire on the coast over in Sonoma. That allowed for some lines to be put in and a lot of good work to be taking place. And that occurred all over the incidents on the entire complex. As we move, so we're calling the entire complex with about 7% containment is what we're looking at. We do have some containment that we got over here on this side. As we move forward into today on the wall bridge incident over there, there's fire activity, as you can see. We have a plan that we in place started yesterday, getting more resources over there. We added approximately 500 people in the 24 hours to the incident. So I believe we're up to 1,059 personnel that are assigned. That takes into account also, that's just not people on the fire ground, that's counting me, that's counting members of the command staff, folks that are assigned here as well. So, but that's good news for everybody that we're up about 500 personnel. We're continuing to get resources in, and that organizational structure that we implemented starting today, we do have folks that we've got assigned directly to the fire in Sonoma. We have Chief Pemberton, who was here on the Kincaid last year. He's assigned to the EOC over there. We're going to be setting up another little camp at the fairgrounds in Sonoma County in Santa Rosa to help logistically support the resources and the folks that are over there. We're looking at the resources we get. We're also trying to maintain that balance that we have to have. Coming forward on the wall bridge fire over there, very active fire during the daytime, about 1,400 hours or 2 o'clock when the skies get lifted. It's nice, and overnight, we get that marine layer, but then once it heats up, that's when the fires are getting up and moving on us. Over there's a couple key points today, though. Aircraft. As of today, we had multiple VLATs, which are very large air tankers, flying on the wall bridge. We had our CAL FIRE S2s flying on it. We had C-130 aircraft flying on it. We had 3 Type 1 helicopters that were working on the wall bridge incident alone today. The Myers fire is holding at about 3,000 acres, and that is good news. Also, a couple other key points took place today. There's a repeater site, state repeater site, and we put repeaters up there on Jackson Peak. That has been held and is doing okay today as we move forward. So a couple other big things that took place today are events. We had Governor Newsom did a press conference here with us today. He was here from 10:30 to 12:30. He expressed his interest and support to all the communities over here. It was good to see that, along with our CAL FIRE Chief Tom Porter was here. So we do have the support. I can tell you, if anybody watched that press conference, they're reaching out all over the country. They're reaching out to Canada for resources for all of us. So it's good as an incident commander to hear that support is coming through for everybody. As we move forward into the situation over there in Sonoma, like I've been stating, we're doing this balancing act, and we're making our priorities, but it is priority to get folks over there. It's priority to get logistically set up, get organizationally sound, and get the folks that we can get. So the fire right now is moving down towards the Russian River, has not crossed, but I am concerned about the change in weather conditions and the possible change in that south to southwest wind. We've got to be on our toes. Make no mistake, it is a large fire. That is a large fire over there. This whole thing is a large incident, and we are doing the best we can with trying to get those resources to us and get them over there to you. And we can see if Ben, I don't know if Ben made it on or not.
Can you hear me now, Chief?
Gotcha.
Thank you, sir. So as Chief Kavanaugh put out there, the daily activity here on the Wall Bridge is an increase in fire behavior on the Dry Creek Valley side of the fire. I'm happy to report today that there's a whole lot less smoke in the air and a whole lot less radio traffic about extreme fire behavior. While the fire is still continuing to burn down towards West Dry Creek and West Side Road, the rate of spread is significantly less than it was yesterday. And as it gets into the low country, we're going to have a change of vegetation type, some vineyards, and allows us to get our resources in front of that. And hopefully it will not get out to West Dry Creek, West Side Road. As Chief Kavanaugh put out there, we did see a significant increase of resources on the line today. I'm happy to say that there are resources all the way around the fire today, and we have engines on all four sides of it working hand in hand with the bulldozers to try to start containing this fire and putting it to bed. We are experiencing a little bit of fire activity over off of Mount Jackson, but nothing that we aren't expecting. So we've got our crews over there working on that, our hand crew that's assigned to the fire. We have a copious amount of fixed-wing aircraft flying the north portion of the fire to button up the Stewart's fire that burned into the back of the Wall Bridge. And crews are making good headway tying it back into Lake Sonoma so that we avoid fire front running down into the top end of the West Dry Creek Valley. The Myers fire today looking really good. The lines held. There was no challenges to the line last night. The humidity was up in the 70s plus last night, which gave crews a welcome relief from the burning conditions that they experienced the last several days. So those crews are beginning the mop-up process, and that fire has not grown since the last update. End of report.
Great. Thank you, Chief. We also have with us Incident PIO Paul Lowenthal. Paul, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, just real quick, just reminding residents that to get up-to-date information, please go to fire.ca.gov. There's a comprehensive website that has all the different incidents that you can click on. We also have CAL FIRE on Facebook and Twitter, as well as the Sonoma Lake Nappers unit. Remind residents, if they haven't already reviewed it, please go to readyforwildfire.gov and also, readyforwildfire.org, and know that we do have public information officers in the field right now working with the communities in Healdsburg, out towards Jenner, at the evacuation center. So just like additional resources coming on the ground to fight fire, we also have additional public information officers from CAL FIRE working closely with our community to keep them informed.
Terrific. Thank you. We also have Sergeant Juan Valencia from the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department, who wanted to give an update on the situation involving expanded evacuation areas. Sergeant?
Hello, thank you for having me. This is Sergeant Juan Valencia, Sonoma County Sheriff's Office. So last night we had very little activity, no new evacuations. This morning, different story. Fire started getting busy again. We issued new evacuation orders for the area of Summer Home Park, Pocket Canyon, and parts of Forestville. We also had some additional warnings issued. We just want to remind people that if you are in a evacuation order area, that means you must leave. You're putting public safety at jeopardy by staying in there if they have to go in there and rescue you. The warning areas, what we recommend is if you do reside in a warning area, to have a bag ready, have your personal belongings ready to go in case there is an order that's issued for that area, then you're able to flee or leave that area. We have a couple little rumor management on Nixle. Nixle is working. We checked with Nixle. What we're doing is we're geo-targeting the areas that are being affected by the fire or that are going to go into a warning or an order. So we are geo-targeting those specific areas or the areas surrounding that area. So, for example, if you get a Nixle in Guerneville, but you reside, or you're going to get notified. But if you live in Petaluma or Cotati area, you will not be notified through Nixle that there's an evacuation taking place up in Guerneville. We are constantly updating all our social media platforms, cross-posting Nixle. Also, the county's using SoCo Emergency and WIAs. We're using Twitter. We're using the high-low siren. So if you hear the high-low, it's ready. It's time to go. We are also using the PA. We have deputies and allied agencies, over 70 allied agencies or officers out patrolling the evacuated areas, keeping the community safe and also assisting with evacuations. So we're sending deputies and officers door to door to contact people and asking or letting them know it's time to leave. We do have some refusals, but we are documenting those that they're refusing in case we do have to go back into that area. We would like to thank CAL FIRE, working with them closely in conjunction with CAL FIRE, and also Paul Lowenthal. Paul and I are in constant contact, getting information out. All our information on our social media platforms is bilingual, so it's in English and Spanish, since we do have about 30 to 33% Hispanic population, so all our information is bilingual. That's an update for me. We're still working closely with CAL FIRE to see if there's any other warnings or evacuation orders coming down.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And next, I would want to go to Dr. Sundari Mace, who's going to give us, we are dealing in a number of health issues right now, including COVID-19. So Dr. Mace, thank you for being here as well.
Yes, thank you very much. Let me start with the COVID update for the day. 1 second while I pull up my numbers. As of the latest update, we have 4,863 COVID cases. 2,197 of those are active. 2,596 have recovered. We added another 79 cases over the last 24 hours. We have a total of 70 deaths. 5 of those were added in the last 24 hours. The deaths have occurred in older individuals, again, elderly, vulnerable populations in residential care facilities, skilled nursing facilities, or while at home. Taking at our data, we, in terms of our roadmap to reopening data, the state metrics that is, we are above a case rate of 200 per 100,000. That will be updated on the website soon, putting us in the category of remaining on the state's watch list and monitoring list. So we'll continue with the current state order, the governor's orders for closure of the higher risk or indoor activities that have already been closed as of the last month or so. We are also not likely at this point to move towards any in-person education, given our case rate of 200 per 100,000. We continue to have low ICU bed availability and an increase in hospitalizations. Our case positivity rate, last I looked at it, was actually at 7.8%, which is the highest that it's been. And some of this may be due to the delay in reporting from the state with the glitch in the data that may have contributed to more cases being reported in the last 2 weeks. However, we are having a lot of cases and we are working really hard to ensure that we keep our COVID-19 mitigation measures in place, even with this disaster and with evacuations and sheltering in place. That is, shelters. We still need to ensure that we're wearing our facial coverings, that we are abiding by 6-foot physical or social distance whenever possible, that we are following all of the general guidance in terms of general hygiene measures. So let me leave it there. I'm happy to take any questions after the rest of the update. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, at this point, we'll go to the media for questions. As always, please raise your hand when you have a questions, and I will call on you as we go. And we'll start with Mary Callahan. Mary?
Hi, thank you. Yes, I'm wondering in terms of, I guess it goes to Ben, in terms of the people that you're seeing on the lines today, the additional resources. Are those part of the additional personnel who arrived yesterday and were counted among the 1,059? Or which are those newer arrivals than that, I guess?
I'll take that. The total count of that personnel was, we received some resources in, and that's overhead resources, engines, different positions that are on the entire complex. That 1,059 people, that is all the total that we have for the entire complex. That's taken the entire, all the counties, all the fires. But what we have done, we did engines and overhead personnel that we have spread out on all the incidents. So like I said, we did a reorganization last night and for today and moving forward to help operationally tackle these incidents, because we do have such a large geographical area. So moving folks over into Sonoma County. So if I may, Paul, real quick, I think there's a couple key points that I need to point out for everybody and the public that's watching. Last night, and Chief Nichols alluded to this, we had that marine layer come in and the fire sat down. I do not want to give a false hope or false impression that when you don't see smoke in the morning, that this thing is not going to come alive. Every afternoon, once the sun comes up, it gets heat on the fuels, and we get those inversions and that moisture out of the air. All these fires are going to get up and start running again, and that's what you're seeing this afternoon. So, not trying to be, I guess, be a downer, but I just want everybody to think that the fires are out. That's not the case. So it's just because we have that the higher humidities overnight, things settle down, but by mid-afternoon, the fuels are still dry, everything is still there, the fires are going to get up and run.
Yeah. Thank you. I just want to get back to the resources issue for a second. I've been talking to a lot of people today about the additional resources that are coming in. The governor's talked about people coming in from other areas of the state as well as from outside the state. My understanding is that they're just beginning to trickle in, that they're really not going to be felt on the fire lines, for a couple of days yet. And so I'm just confused by Chief Nichols discussing, feeling like there's more support on the fire lines today. Well,
we added in from the last few days. We've added in more engines over there today. We got engines coming in yesterday. I was leaving Calistoga last night and at 11 o'clock, and we had passed at least 2 strike teams of fire engines that were coming up the highway into Calistoga into base camp late last night. Those were new. Okay. Those are the resources that we are spreading out along the entire both incidents that we have, the entire complex that we've got. That's what I'm trying to understand. So that was part of the group that came in yesterday that contributed to the 1,059 people that are now included in the rolls on the whole complex. Yes, and also, Mary, to clarify as well, we're also for the last couple of days still tracking down a lot of the IA resources from Monday and Tuesday that had not even come into base camps yet. And so we were yesterday trying to get that accurate count, and that's what we did. Yesterday we had to pull resources in to balance out our daily shifts, which is a tough thing to do, but we have to do that or we get really out of balance for every day. So we got that accurate count. So that's where some of that is coming from as well. But yes, we did receive additional resources yesterday. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Let's go to Martin Espinoza. Martin?
Hi, is Dr. Mace still there? I wanted to.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Mace, could you talk a little bit about whether wildfire smoke in particular has the potential to exacerbate COVID symptoms? Are we hearing anything about that?
Yeah, thanks for that question. We do know that smoking exacerbates any infectious disease is more likely in people who smoke, simply because smoke does destroy the cilia in the lungs and that is in the trachea, and makes you more susceptible to infectious disease. And it's been shown that in areas of the world where there's a lot of pollution, that indeed people who are subjected to high air quality index figures, that is a lot of particles in the air, basically, are more prone to some infectious diseases, for example, tuberculosis. So it's not a great stretch to think then that those people who are exposed to the smoke from the fire have inhalation injuries, or just have a lot of smoke inhalation, could be more susceptible to COVID. So it could potentially be a double whammy. I don't think there's a lot of literature on it, Martin, but I do think that it is a concern at this time.
As a follow-up, is there also concern about those who are asymptomatic COVID carriers sort of developing symptoms that are not brought on by COVID, brought on by pollution?
Right. So if a person has an asthma exacerbation, a COPD exacerbation, or simply has a coughing as a result of smoke inhalation, certainly if they're asymptomatic with COVID, you would think then that they're more likely to spread. So I totally think that is possible. And so the two could certainly be additive in terms of transmission of COVID.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Martin. Let's go to Nichelle Chavez from Press Democrat.
Hello. My question is about the most updated information regarding the fire's direction, where it's moving today. I understand it was said that Dry Creek Road and West Side Road is a priority. I'm also hearing that the Russian River area below the fire is of concern. So I guess I'm just trying to pinpoint whether one area, one side of the fire is more of a priority than the other, or if both of them are equally seeing spread into those areas.
Both sides are equally as important. Both of those sides of the fire have a high population residency in front of that fire front. And so obviously one of our top priorities is preservation of property. Since our citizens have evacuated, we've taken the life factor out of it, but now we have the property. So the Dry Creek Valley and the hills above Guerneville, Jackson Peak and Pool Ridge Trail are high priorities for us, and ultimately to go across basically Old Cazadero Road into Cazadero, up King Ridge Road and back out to Stewart's Point Skaggs Springs. So both portions of the fire are equally as important, and ultimately all sides of the fire need to be addressed before we can contain the fire.
And currently, what is the fire moving in one direction or the other, or both directions? Where is the fire actually going right now?
Thank you. So good question. You mentioned it earlier that right now, if you were to draw a line in the direction of the travel of the main portion of the fire, that would take you to West Side Road in between Sweetwater Springs and Mill Creek. That being said, all the sides of the fire are moving. So the head is the most active portion, followed by the flanks of the fire or the sides. And so that's what's creating the element at Jackson Peak with the activity that we're having there in Russian River. And then the flanks being Cazadero and Dry Creek Valley, although the afternoon winds with the northwest winds we're having, the Dry Creek Valley through the Wallace Creek drainage becomes our most intense segment of fire line that we're dealing with. So we've been having the same wind pattern for the last several days. We've been seeing a repeat of fire behavior each day. By tomorrow, those northwest winds let up, and then we end up with a more west-southwest direction of wind on the fire, and therefore the importance of securing the Dry Creek Valley and portion around Lake Sonoma, because now instead of being at the heel of the fire or where the fire burned from, it will now be the portion that, if we don't have it in check, will become our issue. But that's the constant stream of air tankers flying over Sonoma County right now, is buttoning up that heel of the fire and tying it into Lake Sonoma, so that we don't have a new problem with a shift in the winds.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief. Let's go to Julie Johnson.
Hi, thank you, everybody. This is probably for Chief Nichols. I wanted you to, the best of your ability, describe for people how far the fire is and how deep in the woods from, the more dense parts of the Russian River communities, Rio Neto, Guerneville, and when you're preparing for the fire to reach those communities, if that happens, and when you expect to have to defend it if that happens.
Overall, the fire from West Dry Creek and West Side Road is approximately a mile west of those roads. When we get around to Jackson Peak above Rio Neto, that portion is less than a mile to Rio Neto, but that fire isn't burning as intense as the fire in the Dry Creek Valley. And so that fire is basically backing down the hill, a much lower intensity fire towards Rio Neto. And as crews are trying to get around it so that we don't have to chase it into Rio Neto. But if that does occur, then we have fire engines pre-positioned, ready to go to work saving structures in that community.
And I just wanted to quick follow up. You mentioned that today, or maybe it was Mr. Kavanaugh, but that today was the first day, it sounds like, where you had crews around the perimeter. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so early on, there are presently 540 active fires as a result of the lightning siege that we experienced across the state of California. And so we have major fires that by themselves would be a significant incident. And there's roughly, not 500 are all major fires, but there are fires that have committed 96% of the CAL FIRE suppression personnel to those fires. And so we didn't have the resources between the units and the portions of the state to share amongst each other. So that's why the out-of-state request went out for resources for help. So in the early days of the fire, with the limited resources we had, following the life, property, and finally resources order of triage that we have to do, we put the bulk of our resources on the West Dry Creek, West Side, and Sweetwater Springs area of the fire front to protect those larger communities. Today, with the additional resources coming in, we were able to put more resources out into the Cazadero Canyon to start to contain the fire out on the west side of the fire.
Thank you.
So we have a question next from Jackie Ryan of Oakmont News. Can you address concerns about the predicted weather over the next few days? Are you expecting more lightning storms, and what do you expect on the impact on the fire behavior?
So over the next, today is the last day, as I said, of the northwest pattern and the higher temperatures. Tomorrow we transition to a more west-southwest pattern. So as I said, that may create an issue if we don't have the far northeast corner of the Wallbridge fire buttoned up. But there is a slight chance of thunderstorms Monday and Tuesday of next week. So we're watching that, keeping an eye on that. But with the southwest fire or winds coming into the area, the relative humidity will come up significantly, and that will help the overall firefight here in Sonoma County.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Let's go to Martin Espinoza has another question. Martin?
I have a question for one of the chiefs. Could you talk a little bit about the coronavirus protection precautions, testing, temperature checks for some of the firefighters and camps?
Yes, I can address that real quick. So that's a whole nother priority we have. It's pretty much another whole entire operation that we're taking place in our base camps. So as we know, I'm in a trailer. We have spacing. There's just two of us in this trailer, but we're wearing masks all the time outside. All the meetings we're in, the operations meeting, the meeting that I need to get to here, the planning meeting here in a few minutes, we're all in mask. We take daily monitoring in every trailer that we're in, every tent that we're in. We're marking temperatures. As you come into the base camp, you can't even enter the base camp without having those temperature and a daily check taking place. It really comes down to self-monitoring as well. We have a COVID tent that we call is set up here for anybody who may feel like they have any type of signs and symptoms or sickness. So it's a whole nother part of the overall operation that we have. And so we've been working months and months redefining that. How we've changed our feeding process has been changed in our mobile kitchen units. How we come through lines, you have to wash your hands first. You have to make sure things are sanitized. We don't have open feeding. If you salad, such as like a salad bar, everything is enclosed in boxes. Your food is handed to you in new boxes. We're not allowing only 3 people to a 6-foot table, one on one side, 2 on another side, so you're not sitting directly across from each other. Those are just some of the things we're doing to help prevent, and then really social distancing, and then it's really that self-monitoring and self-awareness. So once again, for all the incidents we're on, that is a whole nother aspect that we're tackling, because there wasn't really a playbook for how to do that in these large incidents. When we're bringing in, thousands of people into a county or into community from all over the state and all over the country, we have to provide some type of leadership and some type of guidelines, and that's how we're doing it. With that, I do sincerely apologize. I do have to get to a planning meeting here in just a few minutes. I appreciate the opportunity. I look forward to getting on these every chance I get. And I know we're going to be doing these daily, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Commander, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
And I hope I answered that question.
Thank you.
I think we were answering. Okay, we're going to take one more question here, and Commander, if you need to duck off, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So we have one more question. Ms. Shelley, you had a follow-up?
Hello, thank you. I'm hoping to get updated numbers for people under evacuation orders and warnings in Sonoma County. I'm not sure if Chris Godley, you might have that. And I think
Chris Godley right here. Actually, let me bring that up for you. And looking at our maps and our zones right now, I can tell you, also just briefly, our numbers. We have 8,800 residents in evacuation warning, 12,000 under orders. So for the unincorporated county, we're looking at 21,000 residents total in either warning or ordered zones. Additionally, the incorporated city of Healdsburg has 11,600 residents under evacuation warning. So at this time in Sonoma County, there are just over 32,000 residents in the county that are subject to warning or orders.
And I'm sorry to ask you to repeat, but you were cutting out a little bit there. So if you wouldn't mind, could you just go through those numbers again?
Sure. Now, if you've got them if you can see my screen, I've also got them listed out. We'll put them in the next media update. But at this time, for warning, 8,800 residents, orders, 12,000 residents. The total is pretty much 21,000 residents unincorporated for warnings or orders. For Healdsburg, an incorporated city, they have 11,600 residents under warning. All for the county, then, we're looking at over 32,000 residents subject to either warnings or orders.
Thank you so much.
So now I'd like to go to Supervisor Rabbit. Do you have some comments you'd like to share today?
Only to say thank you to all of our partners and the firefighters that are out there, CAL FIRE, our districts, our city agencies, and those from elsewhere that are once again coming to Sonoma County in our time of need. We're very grateful for that. Thank you to all our law enforcement partners as well, to our Sheriff's Department, to our CHP, to the local agencies, and to those other agencies that are coming to Sonoma County in mutual aid. We thank them. And I also want to say thank you to all the support staff behind them, certainly our county employees who have been working around the clock, and Department of Emergency Management and elsewhere. Very much appreciative. It's sad to say that we believe that 2 of our county employees have lost homes thus far, and that number may increase, and that's always brings things really close to home. We also are very appreciative of our state and federal partners as well, and we are all too familiar with these circumstances that we put ourselves through. Sad to say that we are we've gotten good at it, but I very much appreciate the professionalism, the dedication, the passion of everyone who's out there, making sure that they're protecting life and property. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And so we just ask if anybody has any final questions for either Supervisor Rabbit or Dr. Mace. Dr. Kismet Baldwin, our Deputy Public Health Director, has joined us as well. I don't know if they have any final thoughts. Any? Okay. Oh yeah. So Martin Espinoza, you have a question.
Well, if Dr. Mason and Dr. Baldwin are still there, are they still on?
Yes, I'm on, and I think Dr. Baldwin is also. I had to plug in, so I've lost the video.
I'm also here, and I've lost my video, so kind of video.
That's okay.
I was hoping our 2 public health officers could speak to a pretty rough week, not only with fire, but with COVID. We've had something like since Sunday, 570 cases and 16 deaths since Sunday. If they could just speak, where are we with this, with this pandemic and sort of mitigating?
Yeah, let me just say that, it's really some that we have this many cases, that we continue to have the cases that potentially, the evacuation, people in shelters, going to neighbors and friends' homes is maybe going to impact the pandemic negatively. All I can say to people out there is do try to comply with the mitigation measures to the extent that you can when evacuating, even when in the shelter, even when at a neighbor's house or extended family's house. Wear the facial coverings and try to follow those general hygiene measures and the social or physical distancing, because that will keep us safer in this really terrible disaster that we're facing. As far as the deaths that we continue to see, they're happening in the most vulnerable population, the elderly. And, we are working still with the state to try to mitigate that. We've seen a shift of cases going towards more of our board and care homes and our residential care facilities, but those are not in any way less vulnerable people. So it's very concerning, and my heart goes out to those families who've lost their family members, and we're doing everything we can to try to safeguard that vulnerable population. And I'll be happy to turn it over to Dr. Baldwin if she wants to add to that. Thank you.
I just wanted to reiterate what Dr. Mace is saying as far as we are trying our best as far as the fires and shelters, just reinforcing the fact that everyone needs to wear masks. Everyone needs to stay, social distance. We're going to be checking and screening for symptoms and making sure that we're reducing the potential of transmission of COVID as much as possible during this, time where everything's a little bit in flux.
And if I may, Paul, I just want to say thank you.
Actually, I'd like to add just a few recommendations for people with the smoke and what to do. So really decreasing your exposure to wildfire smoke is very important to limit the harmful effects. So limit your time outside, stay indoors as much as possible. Keep your windows and doors closed unless it's extremely hot outside. You can, if you have an air conditioner, you can run your home or the car air conditioner and recycle or recirculate. If you do have asthma or your children have asthma, make sure you follow your doctor's directions, take your medications, and call your doctor if you have any symptoms. Remember, heat stroke is an issue as well. And if you're feeling, flushed or hot or dehydrated, if you're feeling like you are really tired, fatigued, it's okay to call your doctor to get advice. Make sure you drink plenty of fluids and that you can take a cold bath to try to cool down. Try not to exercise in this environment of smoke and heat. Our air quality index, which is a measure of how many particles are in the air, basically, is high. There have been different reports. If you go to different websites, you'll see that the parts per million figure seems to be different in different sites. But what I have been able to ascertain is that our AQI, or air quality index, has hit 156, which is a very unhealthy code red. We want to be at 20. And when we get above 60 to 80, it's considered very unhealthy. So please do take care and follow all of these measures to protect yourselves.
Supervisor Rabbit, did you have a final thought about that?
I did. I only wanted to say a thank you to Dr. Mace, thank you to Dr. Baldwin, thank you also to Dr. Maddox, who have been working on protocols for just this instance, and to our own Chris Godley as well. The county has been prepared to deal with shelters, just like CAL FIRE has been practicing and putting in protocols. The county has been prepared for this circumstance, and I'm very appreciative of that proaction. The temporary evacuation points, the TEPs that we talk about, really end up being screening points for evacuees. And then once you're screened for COVID, you're then allowed to go in different directions that are most appropriate for your well-being. So I just want to say thank you to our staff for being able to work that in. It is a very fluid and dynamic time. It is a lot of stress and strain out there, and everyone should take care of themselves. And we very much appreciate the work and the preparation that the county has put together to make sure that we can do the best that we can for all of our residents. So thank you, Paul.
That's a great note to end on. Thank you, Supervisor Rabbit, and thank all of you for joining us for this press briefing this afternoon. For all of you and for those taking part, we are going to continue having these twice a day briefings, one at 9 and one 9 in the morning and one in the afternoon. We will be sending out advisories as we progress. These will take place. These are scheduled for over the weekend as well. And we'll be asking as many of you who are available to join us at that over the weekend. So in any event, for now, thank you all and have a safe weekend.